Hey, what is up? The Leafs Convo back in business for Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakridgeFord.com. I'm NJ and LDN along with MIB and BLO. It's good to be back with you, OGs and converts. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won their second straight Stanley Cup. The Bleu Blanc et Rouge, runners up. Congratulations to them, and congratulations to Mike because he's feeling really good about the fact the Habs are not Stanley Cup champions for a 25th time. I'm still upset about the Maple Leafs, and that's the reason why I am not wearing a Leaf hat.
Well, Norm, I have to say that when we started the show, at the angle that you were showing that, it looked like you were like Dr. J from like the New York Nets and the ABA with the big afro, and it just looked like that. So that I hope that's the picture of the when we go on YouTube, that's the picture.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Over the next 25, 35, 40 minutes we do the show, the hat will go 360 around my head. It's just one of the things that I typically do. This is my men's league baseball team. I'm not a Washington Nationals fan.
Yes, it'll go sconce like CC Sabathia, a little to the left, a little to the right.
You can't be a fan of any baseball team except the New York Yankees, who are in third place now.
Well, hey, what can I say?
They give up runs. They can't score runs. It's not looking good for them. So, Mike, Travis Dermott.
Yes.
Extended 2 years. Paltry $3 million for a guy you'd think at this point should be making a lot more money and having solidified a spot in the top four. Hasn't done either, but this appears to be a tactical move from the Leafs' perspective. Can you explain a little further what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, it was funny that there were some fans that reacted and said, $1.5 million for a defenseman who scored 6 points last year was ridiculous. And last year or next year he would have been arbitration eligible. So if he does stay with the Leafs, he probably would have gotten a lot more than that if he had a decent year. The way I interpret this is this. Depending on how they protect in the expansion draft, Dermott will be exposed. Mm-hmm. Some people think they'll protect him because he's 24 years old and Justin Hall is 30. No, Justin Hall is a right-hand shot defenseman. He's paired with Jake Muzzin. That's the shutdown pairing. I think if they protect 4 defensemen, Justin Hall is one of the 4. Now, Dave Hackstall was named the coach of the Seattle Kraken. Dave Hackstall coached the Leafs defense. So if they protect 8 skaters, it'll be the core 4 forwards and then the 4 defensemen and Jack Campbell. I think that they signed Dermott to the deal basically, if Seattle is interested in him, now they've got him on a cost certain point for 2 years at $1.5 million, a team that has $81.5 million in cap space to spend, but they don't want to spend it all on, if they can find budgetary savings with players that they like, then they'll pick those guys. And he's young. He could develop into somebody that 4 or 5 years down the road is going to be a part of a Seattle Kraken contending team. So he's attracted to them in that aspect. And if he doesn't get picked, then he's attractive to either the Leafs as a bottom pairing option at $1.5 million, or in a trade to a team that needs defensive help. One team that popped up in my head was the Arizona Coyotes, because if you look at their depth chart on Cap Friendly, they have 2 defensemen under contract. Jacob Chychrun and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and they're trying to trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So they may need bodies, and there has been some speculation about, Connor Garland and a few other players within Arizona that the Leafs might be interested. I don't know if those come to fruition, but a $1.5 million salary defenseman with, I think, a couple hundred games of NHL experience is an attractive get, even though I think for Leaf fans, Travis Dermott has been a little bit of a disappointment, but I still think he's a workable player, and that's why I think they signed him to the deal.
This is the Convo. Thanks for being here on the channel. Thanks for listening to us on your favorite favorite podcast platform. I'm Norm, along with Mike. This presentation is brought to you by Oakridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. We still have 0% on 2021 Ford Escapes. I have a ton of them coming in over the next few weeks. F-150s are beginning to land. Those that are not claimed can go to you. We have a bit of a dealer incentive. Ford's not offering too much money off these vehicles right now. In fact, none. However, if you are stuck for a truck, I might be able to help you out. You can get at me through Twitter. You can reach me through Facebook, Norm at Oakridge Ford. You can just yell and I'll probably hear you, because that's how aggressive we are. Travis Dermott will work out for Seattle if they take him financially, and if the Leafs bring him back, indeed, that's like a cap-friendly contract. So this is a really smart move. I like the idea of the Leafs just getting down to business, trying to recover from the disappointment of that first-round playoff loss to the Montreal Canadiens. A lot of people I'm interacting with on social media right now hyped up about trade rumors, potential signings the Maple Leafs may be engaged in. I've heard Christian Dvorak's name bandied about a little bit. Tyler Bertuzzi's a player that I know a lot of Leaf fans are excited about potentially getting through trade, but of course a transaction has to happen first.
Yeah, well, let's tackle the Dvorak thing, because I had heard that secondhand and then hadn't heard it reported from the source I had been told it was reported from. So I'm skeptical. I do know that Elliot Friedman mentioned in his last 31 Thoughts column that Dvorak is somebody that teams have been calling on and that teams are interested in. Arizona is a budgetary nightmare right now. They definitely are
the future home of Austin Matthews.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, when they're in Houston. They're looking, I mean, right now it's accepted. They're trying to trade Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They're trying to trade Phil Kessel in the final year of his contract. They're trying to trade Darcy Kemper with a year left. They're trying to trade Connor Garland, who is their leading scorer, who made $775,000, but is in line for a raise. So obviously they're a budget team, and they're in the midst of a rebuild, and they don't have any draft picks, so they're looking to trade most of these players or some of these players for draft picks. So that being said, Dvorak was not a name on that list. It's probably a player that they would probably prefer to keep. He's one of their better forwards, former London Knight, former center of Mitch Marner on the big line with Matthew Tkachuk. I don't know whether it's realistic. I mean, he's a $4.45 million cap hit, and the reason that Arizona wants to possibly potentially want to trade him is because his contract is backloaded, meaning the money outweighs the cap hit. And with Arizona, that's something that they don't even want to pay the cap hit, let alone the money be more than the cap hit. The rumor, well, like I said, it's unsubstantiated. I don't know whether there's any lick of truth to it, was involving Alex Kerfoot. Alex Kerfoot's contract is the opposite. It's front loaded. They paid more in the first 2 years. Plus it has heavy signing bonus. So the contract is base salary of $750,000 and signing bonus, and the signing bonus has already been paid, I believe. So he would be a league minimum contract for 1 year, and then I think it's around $2 million, 2.5, 2.7, something like that for year two. So for a team looking to save money, Kerfoot might be a contract that would be very interesting to them. But again, I don't know whether that means a Dvorak trade or some other trade down the line, but that's the sort of structure of that rumor. The other one, Bertuzzi, and I'll be brief on this one. I've been told now, okay, Friedman again reported the Leafs were interested in Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi had a back problem last year that limited him to 9 games. He has scored 21 goals 2 years in a row for the Red Wings. He's the type of player that, if the Leafs are, not going to be able to bring back Zach Hyman, that they would want to replace Zach Hyman. Tough player, pain in the ass. Problem is that Detroit likes him. And I've been told by somebody that Detroit has a multi-year offer for Bertuzzi. So I don't know whether, and even Friedman admits that he doesn't know whether the interest from the Leafs was reciprocated in terms of the interest of trading him from the Red Wings. So I'm skeptical on the Bertuzzi front.
Yeah. See, a lot has to play out, Mike. I mean, we still have to see how the expansion draft goes. The draft itself happens after that, and then the big signing period begins at the end of this month. There's no real rush, and the Leafs have to be aggressive but methodical at the same time. Make sure that everything that is considered deeply, and give themselves a chance to make the moves that are an upgrade on what we've seen over the past year. The team was exceptional in the regular season and then fell flat in the playoffs. What can this team do to continue the momentum that it's built over the past few years in terms of structure, carry on in that trend for the 21-22 season, but keeping in mind that there were elements missing that could potentially, if filled properly, help this team reach that next level. And right now, that next level is not only making the playoffs but advancing through a few rounds. It remains to be seen if the team collectively can get it done. But we talked last week about potential changes. I was of the mindset that there wouldn't be anything drastic happening. Bringing in a Tyler Bertuzzi or a Christian Dvorak would certainly not be categorized as drastic or dramatic or anything that would be franchise altering. Just more of utilitarian in the function of, we're losing a guy to free agency or to an expansion draft. We may have to bring someone in like that player, who's financially cost effective to fill that player's role, and potentially the new blood might be a bit of an upgrade.
Well, I mean, they have to find a way, and it appears from the reports this week, not that it's any kind of bulletin, but it appears from the reports this week that Freddie Andersen is gone. And I think we knew that going back into the season, that if he wasn't prepared to take significantly less than $5 million a year, that they weren't going to be able to re-sign him. And it, from the indications after, well, we're interested in talking to the Leafs, we're interested in staying. Well, the Leafs can't pay $5 million. Well, I guess that's what we want. So okay, well, see ya, Fred. I mean, God bless. Thank you for your 5 years. And if you can get $5 million from some other team, that's great. But you're not getting it from Toronto with their current structure. And
Mike, can I just make a point? Isn't sports can be triumphant, but it can also be cruel. In the case of Freddie Andersen, this is a guy who came in from Anaheim, and a lot of people were putting their hopes and dreams into his abilities, and his performance initially suggested that this guy could be a savior-esque to the franchise. The way it petered out and this ending, it's kind of sad and unfortunate, but we shouldn't be surprised by it, because these kinds of conclusions to careers that really didn't come to full fruition happen more often than we think they do.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, the reality here is that in 5 years, and not all his fault, but in 5 years they haven't won a first-round match. And I know. I think that Andersen was not responsible for the first three, and I thought played well against Columbus and then didn't play against Montreal. So I think he was a victim of circumstance. But the point is that you have a goalie market that is not deep. He is probably the best or the second best free agent in that goalie market. He's not going to take a discount to stay in Toronto. So, sayonara, bye-bye. Hyman, see, I don't begrudge Zach Hyman anything. He has given the Leafs everything over the 5 or 6 years of his career in Toronto. He's been a good soldier. He's been a great teammate. He's been a good guy. He had a 4-year deal, was making under it was a very good value at like $2.5 million. And now at 29 years old, he's got a chance to hit the jackpot. And the Leafs can't pay him the jackpot unless they stretch out the deal to 8 years. So I don't think they want to do that because he's 29 years old, and by age 37, he's probably on the golf course. So if he's probably going to get big money from Detroit or from Edmonton or a couple other clubs. I don't begrudge him that, but the Leafs. Kyle Dubas has to find a way to replace those players with players making significantly less. Mm-hmm. That'll be the challenge because, like somebody pointed out, they don't have any – the next 2 years, they have 3 draft picks in the upcoming draft. They have 3 draft picks in the upcoming draft and 3 draft picks, their first, second, and 7th in the next draft. So they really don't have draft picks to trade. So they're going to have to go down the road that they went last year, sign a lot of players, veteran players like Thornton, like Jimmy VC, like Simmons and Spezza, to veteran minimum contracts, and they're going to have to pile up on those guys and make deals. Otherwise, they're going to have some big holes going into the season.
We can't criticize the Leafs for not having draft picks at this stage of what we expected their development to be. They weren't supposed to have draft picks. They were supposed to have expended them like they did to build what they were hoping would be a contender. How remember when the Leafs had a gazillion draft picks? That was at a stage where they were still, the formative stage. They were still trying to, build, adding assets through with draft picks. And I mean, that was several years ago. And they used them.
And Tampa Bay in this upcoming draft, Tampa Bay won the Cup, so their plan worked out. Tampa Bay in this upcoming draft has a 3rd, a 5th, a 6th, and 3 7ths. The Leafs have a 2nd, and I think a 6th and a 7th. So the plans were the same. The outcome was different.
Yeah, absolutely. OG's converts, we see your comments. Mike and I are just catching up. We only get to do this once a week. So that's the reason we're not cycling through all the comments, but we really do appreciate it. And you guys can have your conversations as we go on. Daryl LeBlanc, the Leafs aren't going to win the Cup with offense and possession. Isn't that what Tampa's about? Plus more?
Yes. Yeah. Tampa, the Leafs are built on the Tampa model, but what, you notice Tampa fell short 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, against Columbus because they couldn't deal with the sandpaper that Columbus had. Then they add Goudreau and Coleman and Maroon and a couple other players like Zach Bogosian after his contract was terminated from Buffalo, and they win their first Stanley Cup. And this year they find a way to add David Savard, and they win a 2nd Stanley Cup. Those moves, that's why I was so in favor of the Nick Foligno move, because the Nick Foligno move was akin to those moves. Unfortunately, Foligno gets hurt, 2 games into his Leaf career, but the thought process was right. So that's where I think Toronto has to now, and if they have to sign, veteran guys who provide some sandpaper at $900,000 and the promise that, okay, you have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, you're going to do it in front of everybody in Toronto. You're going to be able to find those players.
Yeah.
It's just a question if you find the right players.
Everybody in Toronto, that's the security staff and the medical staff, and I don't know, whoever from the administrative,
and millions of people watching our hockey in Canada. That's what I'm talking
about. Are Leaf fans as engaged as they once were? Are they that excited about their team? Right now, it doesn't feel that way, but
no, they're pissed off. They're pissed off, and they have and this is the thing: the Leaf fans have a right to be pissed off, have a right to be disappointed. But
of course, in
the end, I think they're going to come back and they're going to root for this team when the puck is dropped in the middle of October. In a way, the next regular season is meaningless It's just a ticket to the tournament of 16. It's what they do in the middle of April that's everything. And if they don't do something next playoff, then they're going to be, I mean, not changes in just players. They're probably going to be changes in coaching staff and management and upper management.
Leaf Nation, they don't have that spark when they're playing. No drive, no effort, no confidence. We wouldn't have figured that to be the case, or we wouldn't have worried about these things derailing the Leafs' possibilities after that 56-game season. Mike, they won their division.
Yeah,
we expected them to beat the Habs easily, and then all of a sudden the playoffs came about. They're up 3-1, and that was it. They completely shit the bed. Guys were like deer in headlights. There was no spark. It didn't seem like there was that effort. The thing about that is, how do you correct it? How do you change that, Mike, without, in a vindictive way, taking a player that you feel didn't bring his very best but should have, and send him off to Siberia? You have to chalk it up to another disappointment, another live and learn scenario, and just keep on pushing forward.
Nobody said what the comment that you just put up there. Nobody said that before the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Nobody said that. Now that was a reflection of what happened in games 5, 6, and 7. Mm-hmm. So and I get it. I mean, I said it myself. It's like, okay, but you have to factor in, Tavares being out and Foligno being injured and all these other things.
Are we not making? Sorry, Mike, and people hate when I cut you off, but mm-hmm. Are we not making enough about that? And it's in the past. Like, it's not. Everything's one big excuse, but are we not emphasizing the Foligno injury and then not having Tavares enough in packaging up all of the reasons why the Leafs lost, besides just not getting it done games 5, 6, and 7?
I think people sort of like, oh yeah, Tavares got hurt, and then still expected this team to win like nothing was wrong. And I'm like, okay, that's a big loss. I mean, Philip Deneau was able to shut down Austin Matthews because John Tavares wasn't there, because they could concentrate everything on. Then basically you would have Nick Suzuki or somebody else shut down John Tavares. And that, who knows if they would have been able to do that. I mean, we know that 1 or 2 goals, one goal in game 5 or 6 changes the outcome of the series. The Montreal Canadiens don't make a run to the Cup final if 1 goal in game 5 or 6. So, I mean, we have to not go through the habit of looking back because it's over with and the season's over with. Yep. But I think that looking back in terms of learning from it and what to do is always valuable. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're definitely. I think Kyle Dubas does learn from his mistakes. It's just a question of whether he has the cap space to be able to address those errors and mistakes.
Just a few more minutes, guys. Gary LeBlanc, keeping the team the same would be a discouraging way to start next season, being how pissed off some of us are. I get Gary's point, and principally I feel that way. However, it's not it's not like that team sucks. It's not like that team sucks at all. That team's really, really good. It just melted when the pressure was on, and that pressure being coming through with an opportunity to finish off a series when you're up handily with and they didn't. So that was the pressure. They weren't able to figure it out. So I understand what he's talking about. But the thing is, Gary, what we see in October of this year is going to be very similar to what we saw exiting the ice in Game 7 against the Habs a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, short of the Leafs making the move that I've been begging them to make for 3 years, which is a trade of William Nylander. And again, not because Nylander's not good, but because Nylander makes $7 million that they need to allocate in other areas. Short of them doing that, which appears that they're not going to do, then they're going to be operating sort of around the edges and addressing just support players. And I don't know, like I know that a lot of people are saying, well, teams like Tampa Bay stuck with it, and the proof is in the pudding that they've won 2 Stanley Cups. They stayed with the same core group. Yeah, but the difference is that core group was making significantly less because of the Florida tax situation, and because players like Steven Stamkos wanted to stay in Tampa to win a Stanley Cup. He took $8.5 million, and I'm not blaming John Tavares, but John Tavares was an unrestricted free agent and took $11 million and took less from Toronto than he would have taken from someplace else.
So this just is breaking right now. Ron DeSantis is running for Premier of Ontario. So,
yeah, does he have a chance against Rob Ford or Doug Ford? Sorry.
Uncle Doug? Ooh, that would be a great race, eh? Those two guys. But DeSantis is going to come in and just eliminate all provincial tax. So that'll help the Maple Leafs
and open the border right away. He's going to open it.
You would love that, wouldn't you?
Well, it's starting to sound like I may be able to go across the border to Sobeys and buy some dill pickle chips on the 21st of July. I'm getting encouraged.
Oh my gosh. So my wife and I were talking about this last night. We were ranking our best number 1 chip. And if you're American, we might not have the same. The number 1 chip on the list, Lay's dill pickle, number 1.
Well, okay, and you maybe this, and I because and maybe somebody in the chat does. My favorite was not because the Lay's chips in Canada, your FDA or your version of the FDA is different than ours.
You have way too much MSG on your chips.
Well, the salt content on Canadian chips is much higher than the U.S. chips. That's why I always buy chips when I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
But it used to be Old Dutch, the Old Dutch brand.
The ones that we used to get at the Memorial Cup tournaments, right? Old Dutch supported and sponsored, and you would go in and they'd have the whole area packed up with stuff. And then you would grab Old Dutch chips, stuff them in your bag, and when you get on the plane, you'd hear the big crunch when you stuffed your bag in the overhead. Have you tried the Miss Vicky's spicy dill pickle from Costco?
I have not, and I will when I get over there. But it was funny because Old Dutch, they had dill pickle chips that were my favorite, and then all of a sudden they changed to creamy dill pickle, which was basically like they mixed in like sour cream and onion with pickle, and it just ruined them. And now, like every time I go to Canada, the only one that is like even close to good is the Lay's, but it's not as good as it used to be. So. I'm crushed by the
Mike, give us, if you can, I'm going to put this up in community, my top 5 chips. I might do a top 30 chips because my wife and I don't know. This is what we do when we were wiped out from a day of work and with the kids and stuff. We just sit on the couch and rank chips.
Top 5 chips in no particular order. Lay's salt and vinegar, Lay's dill pickle. Let's see here. Ruffles sour cream and onion. I'll still put even though they may not exist anymore, somebody will have to tell me. Old Dutch dill pickle, and let's see, the Ruffles cheddar and sour cream.
Oh, that's cheddar and sour cream. We didn't even add that to the list. I had wild card chips and chips in the top 25. So Lay's sour cream and onion, Lay's dill pickle, Lay's sour cream and onion. Munchos. I don't know if you've had Munchos. They don't have a lot of visibility, but they'd be in the top 5.
I do not put Pringles on the list, and I do not.
Pringles are out. Pringles they're disqualified. Pringles are out. I don't know why.
And I do not consider Doritos chips. That's why, because I would put Doritos in there in terms of but tortilla chips and potato chips are different. So.
Yeah. You're right. And then we also have Miss Vicky's sea salt and vinegar. The Munchos would be 5, and I'm looking for a 4. What's 4? What would be a good 4?
Ketchup chips are just
ketchup. You know what? The thing about ketchup chips is, I go hard on ketchup chips for a period of time, and then I put the bag away, or the 15th bag away, and I don't touch them for a while.
And can somebody describe what all dressed chips? From what I heard, it's basically every flavor mixed together. Is that what all dressed?
See, all dressed is another one of those things, right? You have a quick affair with the all dressed chips, and then you're done with them. But now they have Lay's, the king of the chip. I mean, just the mass produced chip. Lay's has a just an all dressed that's not ruffled, and it's really, really good. Veets are the top 4 chips worth $40 million.
Yes, I would, but I would trade all dressed to clear cap space.
I'll put up, I'm going to think about it a little bit more. I'll put up maybe a top 10, and I'll consult with my wife. I'll do that in community. The Leafs are looking for an assistant coach. Obviously, Hackstall moving on.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, again, from 31 Thoughts from Elliot Friedman, he was breaking a lot of Leaf stuff this week. The Leafs apparently reached out to Rick Tocchet immediately after the Kraken hired Hackstall. Tocchet was in the mix for the Kraken job. He was in the mix for the Buffalo job. He's been a longtime assistant. He was in Pittsburgh. He had the reputation of being what I would call the Kessel whisperer in Pittsburgh. So he's got a good reputation. Thing is that from what I recall, Tocchet works more with forwards. And Hackstall worked with the Leafs defense. The other name that was interesting and gained prominence over the last few weeks was Luke Richardson. His contract is up with Montreal. Longtime assistant, former head coach at the AHL level, former Leaf, obviously former Leaf first-round pick. That would be a really good ad. So let's keep an eye out on that. But I'm not sure how front burner that is with all the stuff that's going to happen in the next month.
Steven Kariako, I'd trade Marner or Nylander for a lifetime supply of ketchup chips.
Disgusting. They're so disgusting.
No, they're salty and they're sweet. They're good. You get into them, and then
I hate ketchup.
It's a fad chip for me. The staple chip, I could eat dill pickle Lays every single day. If I ate chips every day, and it sounds like I do, but I don't.
It looks like I do.
Well, that's why I've cut off the shot here. And then anything sour cream is,
yeah,
it's money. Salt. The old Hostess salt and vinegar chips, and going back to like the 70s and 80s, the bag, you'd open up the bag, it was like a papery bag, and all of the salts and the goo from the chips would get caught in the bag, and you'd open the bag up, and there might be wrestling cards in there, or there'd be some scripture on the inside of the bag. I don't know what for, hieroglyphics or something. And you'd lick the bag. It was really, really delicious. Then Hostess went to the shiny bags, and then now Hostess, I think they still make cupcakes or something.
It was the map of the Ark of the Covenant. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was. Just real quick, and I'm seeing Kirk Tuss is here throwing out some ideas. Lamb not Will 85. A lot of people are like, well, get rid of this guy and that guy for Joe Blow, save some money. He's too expensive. People want change for the sake of change. It might, dare I say, even if the Leafs won the Stanley Cup, we'd be wanting change anyway. Is drastic, major, integral, serious change needed for this? Needed for this team, and if so, does that help the cause in terms of the overall development of the organization? Because even with that failure in the Game 7 against the Habs, and failing again to get through to a second round in the playoffs, there is a master plan in place for this organization. Last word to you.
I believe that there should be change, but it's clear from the signals that have been sent out by the Leaf organization that there's not going to be, at least, they're not going to change the core four. And I think they're going to, like I said before, build around the edges. No, guys like Alex Kerfoot making $3.5 million, they may fall victim to the fact that they need to make changes in other areas and add a goaltender, add this or that, and they simply can't afford. And the thing is that the only way that, if they do that, then they are going to have confidence in a kid like Pierre Engvall to play third line center. So somebody is going to, it's either they're going to have to find somebody a lot cheaper than $3.5 million to play third line center, which is possible. Maybe they get a veteran out there, but the change that I think that not wholesale, but significant is probably not going to happen. They're going to come back one more year with this core group because they believe in it. And I think they're opening themselves up to a lot of second guessing if it doesn't work again, but we shall see.
The layers are still pretty strong, Mike. The stars are there going into the next season with even more to prove. The veterans have come back, the Spetzes and the Simmons, and I'm sure there will be others. And then the young cats, the Engvalls, Sandins, Robertsons, Mikheyev, some of these other cats wanting to take their games to the next level. The layers are still strong. The organization is still pretty good across the board. Psychologically, where is it at? Well, we're not going to be able to find out until the puck drops on the next season, and then by extension, throughout the campaign to come, and then into the playoffs, most likely. This team has plenty to prove, but they still have the horses and the players and the personnel that have the capability to get it done. We just have to see if they've been able to mentally get stronger between that loss to the Habs and their next opportunity to right the wrongs of the past. Catch Mike at hockeybuzz.com. His latest is looking really, really good right now. Hyman likely gone. Leafs looking for assistant to replace Hackstall. You can get at me on Facebook at Norm at Oakridge Ford. And we don't have to talk cars. We can talk hockey. We'll have an Ask Mike in community midweek to come. And I want to get your top 10 all-time favorite potato chip list. Potato chip, right, Mike? We're disqualifying Doritos. They're off. You can't have them included, right? Is that a provision?
Tortilla chips and potato chips are two completely different things.
Okay, so it's potato chips, top 10. For Mike, I'm Norm. We're out of here.